Shall we begin?
Let's begin now.
Hi everybody, it's Doreen and welcome back to day 4 of the Father's Day Cards with the Cricut series. So today's cartridges we will be using is the Don Juan cartridge, the Everyday Paper Doll cartridge, the Holiday Cakes cartridge, and the Indie Art cartridge. So now, what does our project look like for today? This is the card we will be making today. So come on and join me, and I'm going to show you how you can make this quick and easy card. Okay everybody, so we're going to bring up our supplies so we can get started on card number 4 for the Father's Day Cards with the Cricut series. So now, what I've done is I've taken some cardstock, so my card measures 8.5 by 5.5, and I've taken and scored it to make it a 4.25 by 5.5 inch card. Now this cardstock, I don't know where I got this from. It was in my scraps, so I really can't tell you who it's by. But now what I want to do next is I want to add my next layer, and this layer measures 4 inches by 5.25 inches, and this is some of the, let's see, I believe this is Joann Fabrics. Yep, this is the Joann Fabrics cardstock, and it's not the linen textured, it's just their regular cardstock. So I'm going to open up my card and we're going to get this layer down, because remember, we're not adding any ribbon or any twine or anything. So I'm going to move this over just a little bit so I can get some tape on here. And then we'll just add this to the card. I'll get some tape across. And I have plenty of tape now, thanks to Miss Skylar. So we'll just add this layer down and press down. So now the next thing we'll do is we'll add our next layer. And my next layer, this paper I picked up at Joann Fabrics, and it was just one sheet, and it was actually on the clearance rack. I believe it's a DCWV. It has some design or screws and lug nuts and so forth on the back, but I'm going to be using this side with the pliers, the wrench, and the hammer, and the screwdriver, and the nails. So that layer is going to go on top there, and this measures 5 inches by 3.75 inches. So let's bring up our ATG gun again, and we'll get some tape on the back of here. We'll move our card to the side for just a minute. And we'll get our tape on, and then we'll be able to add this layer to the card as well. So now that we've got our tape on, I'm going to bring my card back, and I think I'm going to have it line up like, well, I'm going to do it this, whoops, can't believe I almost stuck that to the other layer of paper there. So we're going to line this up and press down. So now, when I realized that I want to have it facing this way, I had put a pencil mark there because I want to line up where I want to put my pocket. So now let's talk about the pocket. Now I didn't have a cartridge, or I couldn't find a cartridge that actually had a pocket on it that I owned. So what I did was I took the Don Juan cartridge, which looks like this, and I found a tag. So what you can do is search on your Gypsy or the Cricut Craft Room or My Cut Search for a cartridge that has a tag on it, and I then just turned the tag upside down and made my pocket. So now I'm using the Don Juan, as I said, and the tag is on page 43, and it looks like this. So what I've done is I've hidden the hole in the center using my gypsy. And as I've said before, if you don't have a gypsy, you can also use the Cricut Craft Room or the Expression tool. They work exactly the same as the gypsy. So you can do your welding and change your height and width by taking off the aspect ratio and using your real dial size and so forth. You don't just have to use the Cricut. I use the gypsy because I have the gypsy. I've only used the Cricut Craft Room a couple of times, but I prefer using my gypsy because I can take it everywhere, and I don't always have an internet connection to use the Cricut Craft Room. So we'll go to that cartridge and I'll show you what I did as far as the pocket. So it is going to be key 29, and it looks like this originally. So what I did was I took it and I took my aspect ratio off. I left the real dial size off, and I made the width 3 inches and the height 3.25. And so that made it fit more like a pocket. And then I went to my advanced tab and the hide contour, and I removed the circle in the middle. Once I had that done, I then took and I went ahead and cut it out, and then I just turned it upside down. So once I had that done and cut out, I then took my Signal Uniball pen in the white, and I just did some stitching around the edges, and then I took these brads that I have that look like buttons. I'm going to move it up so you can see that, and I added those in the front, and then I popped it up on the back with some foam tape. So for right now, I'm just going to lay this down because I need to measure out, once I get my tools in the pocket, where I want the pocket to lay. So next, we're going to talk about the tools. So I'm just going to move this to the side for just a minute. So what I've cut out is a hammer, an wrench, and a screwdriver. So now, each of these came from 3 different cartridges because there is a Cricut Lite cartridge that you can pick up at Walmart. It's the Handyman cartridge, I believe, and since I didn't have that, I had to improvise. So now, the hammer is from the Everyday Paper Dolls, and it is on page 62, and it looks like this. So we'll bring that up on our gypsy, and what I've done for that is I've put the real dial size on, and I've taken my aspect ratio off, and I cut the hammer at 2.91 for the width and 3 inches for the height. And the reason why I have my aspect ratio off is because I had to make sure all of my tools would fit within the pocket. So that's where the hammer came from. So now what you want to do, if you want it to be 2 different colors like I have here, is I cut 2 out, 1 in gray and then 1 in black, and then I cut the top part of the hammer off on the black piece, and then I glued those 2 together, and so that's why it looks like this. The other thing that I did was I wanted to make it a little shiny, like the hammer would look, and I took my Yasutomo watercolor paints and I just painted this, as well as the same thing I did with the wrench and the screwdriver. So that is my hammer. So now for the wrench, let me bring up that cartridge. That is from a cartridge that I couldn't find my handbook for this, and I also couldn't find that I actually had a cartridge for this. So then I realized at one point Cricut did offer some free cartridges to be downloaded to your Gypsy, so that must be how I got this cartridge for the wrench. Because also when I looked at the cartridge itself, it's not something that I would have purchased. So it's the Indie Art Cricut cart, and it looks like this on the front of the cartridge. And some of the images on the cartridge are like so. And so, as I said, I don't think I would have bought this because there was really nothing on here that I really cared for. So it must have been one of the free downloads. And lo and behold, down here in the corner is the wrench. So, and the way I found this is I typed in wrench in my search button on my Gypsy, and this one came up as well as the one that's on the Handyman cartridge. So let's go to the Indie Art cartridge, and let me see which key that is. It is, what you'll do is you're going to hit your shift key and then key number 40. So it looks like that. So now I've cut that one with the real dial size off and my aspect ratio off. It is, the width is 3.42 and the height is 1.75 or 1 3/4. And I also once again cut that out using some gray cardstock, and then I did use the Yasutomo watercolor paints and painted that silver as well. So now for my screwdriver, I did not have a cartridge that had a screwdriver on it. I don't own one that has a screwdriver on it, so I think I might have to invest in that Handyman Cricut cartridge, because it does have some things on there that I would like to use for future Father's Day cards. Or I may be just skipping that and doing what I did for this screwdriver. And so what I did was I actually used Erica, my Silhouette Cameo, to find the screwdriver. So once again, I cut 2 of them, and then I just, one in black and one in gray, and then I just went ahead and cut the top off the black one and attached the gray one. And it looks like that on the back. So that is my screwdriver. And the thing about this is because they're going to be down inside the pocket, you won't see everything anyway. So now, what I cut that screwdriver was, my width was 3 inches for the bottom layer, and the height was 3.105, and then for my top layer my width was 1.84, and the bottom of the wrench, which is the part that I cut off, was 1.89. So now if you have a cartridge that does have a screwdriver on it, then you can use that, or you can pick a different tool. It's just that that's what I wanted to pick, and I couldn't think of any other tool that I did have a cartridge for that I could add to the card. So now what we're going to do is, now that I've talked about the sizes, we're going to bring our pocket back, and I'm going to start lining these up in here. And the first thing I want to put in is my hammer, and we're going to have the hammer kind of like so. And then I'm going to add my screwdriver, and I'm going to put the screwdriver, let's see if we can do this, and then we'll add our wrench in here in the middle. Like so. I may have to put that down just a little bit and slide this over. Because what I need is, I need enough room to be able to add my little sentiment, which I've stamped out that says Honey-Do List. And this is from the My Favorite Things stamp set that I've used in the previous Father's Day cards series this year. And it's called I Love You Mower WT Guy. And I'll put the link down there in the description bar on this stamp set, as I have done in the previous videos. And I also want to make a comment. I've had subscribers contact me or private message me asking me about sizes and so forth when I'm making my cards. I do include the sizes when I'm showing you the card and showing you on the Gypsy. And also, I will get comments asking me where I purchased something. I pretty much, if it's a rubber stamp, I will give you the link if I have it in the description bar. So if you could just check the description bar before you private message me, that would be helpful. Because as I've said before, I do have a full-time job and I'm trying to make these cards and keep up with everyone that leaves a comment or leaves me a private message. So if I've already given you the link to where I purchased, or I've given you the measurements, I do still respond to you, but it does take up time for me to do that. So if you could just check the description bar, and if I haven't added it in there, then feel free to private message me. So now what I'm doing is I'm just marking where I want to put this pocket with the pencil. So I'm going to line the pocket up right there. And I'm going to take all of my things out. And then I'm going to take the tape backing. Actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and put our Happy Father's Day on the pocket itself. So now, the Happy Father's Day is from the Holiday Cakes Cricut cartridge, and it looks like this, and it is on page 72. So what I've done is cut out the plain phrase, and then I've cut out the plain phrase shadow, and I'll give you the measurements for that. Let's bring up our Gypsy and go to that cartridge. And what you'll do is you'll hit your plain phrase key, which is over here on the left, and then you're going to hit key 45. And it looks like this. That's the top layer. And then for my bottom layer, you'll hit the plain phrase shadow button, which is to the right of the plain phrase. And then you'll hit key 45 and you'll get this. So now the measurements for that is your height. Take your aspect ratio off because we wanted it to fit within this pocket. And the height is 2 inches and the width is 2.75 inches. So this is just cut out of some plain cream color files folder. Okay, let's try that again. A file folder of scraps that I had left over, and the Happy Father's Day is some of the scrap cardstock that I had left over from a previous card. So I'm going to take my two-way zig pen and I'm going to get some glue on that. So we'll just dot along here. And if you have the Xyron, you can use that too. As I've said, mine's on the other side of the room. So, and I don't have any place to move it on this side of the room. So now I'm just going to add that on the top layer. And then press down. And then we'll just take this and we're going to put it on top of here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, we'll see if we can some glue dots on the back of here. So I want to line this up in the center here, and then I'm just going to place this down. Okay, so now we can go ahead and add this to our card. So I'm going to line it up on where I have that pencil mark. So I'm going to open up my card, and we're going to place it right there. So we'll take the tape backing off of this. And this is another quick and easy one. Shouldn't take that long to make once you get all of your things cut out. The hardest part about making the cards is trying to find your image of what you want to put on there. Once you get your images and you get it laid out on your mat, you're good to go, and it shouldn't take you any time to put it together. So now we can put our tools inside. And I really want parts of that screwdriver to show, the bottom part of it, but it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to do that. So I guess we'll just put it in there like that. Now, I think what I'm going to do, and I'll do that off camera, is I'm going to just put a little glue on the back of here, or I might even pop these up as well. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll come back and we'll finish up the card. Okay, everybody, so I am back. So what I ended up doing, because I said that I wanted just a little bit of the bottom of the screwdriver to show through, but my top part of my screwdriver was too tall. So what I did was I pulled the top layer from under the bottom layer here, or the bottom part of the screwdriver, and I'll just bring this up just a little bit so you can see. And I cut some of this off and then just glued it back. And then what I've done is I've taken each of the tools and popped them up. So the screwdriver is actually looking like it's coming out of the pocket. So now what we'll do is we'll add our sentiment that we have out here on the front of the card, and I popped this up using some foam dots, and as I said, it says honey-do list, and I've taken some scraps of the cream color file folder that I had and stamped this out, and then I inked it with the Ice Spruce Timos Distress ink. So we're just going to put this down here in the corner like so. So now the last thing we're going to do is we're going to work on our inside sentiment. So once again, I've taken some scraps that I've had left over from the front of the card, top layer, and the envelope that I made. And our envelope looks like this. And what I use to make my envelopes, you can either use, if you have one, the Martha Stewart scoring board. But before I had that and owned that, I used my Ultimate Crafter's Companion envelope maker. So I've inked my edges for this as well using the Ice Spruce. So I'm just going to line these up in my corners and place those down like so. And then what I have for the inside sentiment is, once again, there aren't enough days in the weekend, and then I've stamped Happy Father's Day. Now this is using, once again, the XL label die by My Creative Time, and my sentiments are from the stamp set that is My Favorite Things, and the link to these will be in the description bar. So that will be placed right here, and I've used the ice spruce to ink my edges. So I'm going to get this glued on and come back with the finished card. Okay, everybody, so I am back with the finished card, and as I said before, I just went ahead and added the honeydew list down here. And I'm sorry I didn't say how I punched that out. I used my Stampin' Up! Word window punch to punch out my little tag here. And for the inside, I went ahead and took my scraps and added one in each corner. And then I laid down the sentiment in the inside. So that's it. This is day number 4 of the Father's Day cards with the Cricut. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.